Hi, Tricia Pimental here, IL Portugal correspondent, and I wanted to talk to you today about the 5 top expat locations spots in Portugal. So let's jump right into it. And obviously, the first one is going to be the capital, Lisbon, with a population of about 500,000. It's a busy place. Obviously, it's the capital. It is the largest city in the country. But it doesn't really feel that way when you're in it to a large extent because the city is actually broken down into a number of different neighborhoods, from Alfama and Graça, the oldest ones, home to a lot of the fado, the traditional folk music singing of the country, to ones like Barrio Alto, excuse me, a big for Lisbon's nightlife, bars, nightclubs, restaurants, and so on and so forth, to Belém, which is where the Tower of Belém is. A little bit more, actually lots of museums, Maritime Museum and others, art museums there in Belém. Restelo, where the lots of embassies have their residence, their ambassadors have their residences. Very very upscale, expensive. I'd love to live there sometime if I were going to live in a big city again. Parque das Nações, which is an area that was developed for a World's Fair some time ago, and now it's a really very popular modern architecture, lots of shops and restaurants, and waterfront dining and so on. So very popular with expats, Parque das Nações. And you could find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place to live. There's one on the market right now because I did a little research right before I did this for you. Furnished rental there in Parque das Nações for $1,400 a month. Now you can find somewhat less, but and definitely more in this location in Lisbon. However, that's a good average price, and 2 bedrooms is quite nice, a nice size to have in a city proper like that. Of course, another positive and plus of being in Lisbon is the expat groups there. Many of them are based there and in the next place we're going to get to in just a moment. And there's access to beaches not only from Lisbon as you head west toward Cascais and Estoril, which I'm about to speak next, but across the Tejo or Tagus River, there's an area, Almada and Setúbal, actually there's another one, Costa de Caparica, beautiful, lovely sand beaches there. So you have the access to Lisbon, and all it offers, dozens of museums and so on, and the nightlife and restaurants and big green parks like Edward the Seventh, 6th, 7th. It's a number thing for me. Edward the Seventh Park near Campo do Ourique. So you have everything together there in that Lisbon area. So that's what makes it very attractive. So moving on to what I was just touched on with Cascais and Estoril, you've heard me talk about these areas a lot. This is a smaller location, population is about 200,000, but still with beautiful beaches, restaurants, bars, cafes, green spaces, some museums, and a huge expat presence there. Personally, it's nowhere I really cared to live, but I used to spend 5 days a week there. That's because my husband and I are a little different, and we want to be where we are immersed in the Portuguese language, the people, the culture, and so on and so forth. However, we attended church there at an English-speaking Riverside International Church, which really was international. There were people every week. Somebody would say, "Well, who's here from Africa? Or who's here from Norway or Sweden and or Brazil?" And hands would shoot up all over. So this is the nice part. You can have the combination if you want of feeling like in Cascais that you are still international and still have expats from Alabama who are there. So, and also beaches, of course, right there, especially if you just go up a little bit to the north, there's the rugged Guincho coast and big surfing and actually kind of very challenging surfing right there. You don't have to go all the way up the coast of Portugal to Nazaré or Peniche to find those kinds of waves. You can find them right nearby Cascais. And at the casino I mentioned, they have food festivals, tennis tournaments, and other kinds of events. Golfing is nearby. I would always, when I was in Cascais, and would meet friends at the Hotel Bahia, which is actually where one of the expat groups, Americans living in Portugal, holds their happy hours on a regular basis. And there were groups coming in from Scotland and Ireland to go golfing, and they were staying at that hotel. But the area, you don't have to be down in the Algarve for golfing. Again, small country, lots of opportunity to pretty much do everything you want, no matter where you are. And a 2-bedroom, I checked this out for you too. Furnished rental going right now in the Cascais area is about $1,600. I found a beautiful one. So I've given you this before, but just for the sake of having it right in your pocket right now, my favorite site is Imu Virtual. It looks like IMO, I-M as in Mary, O, and then the word virtual, all one word, .com. And you can search there in English and look around at these areas that I'm talking about right now, and put in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, to buy, to rent, and you'll get some really good feel and a picture of what it's like to be here and what you can get. Of course, now I put together Cascais and Estoril together with Lisbon because they're so close to each other. But of course, the second city of Portugal, so this will be our third of the 5 top expat hotspots, is Porto in the north. And I group that together because it really should be with Vila Nova de Gaia. And that is just across a different river, the Douro River, not the Tagus. And that's where all the port wine houses are. If I were to live up there, I'd probably live in Gaia, as it's frequently referred to for simplicity's sake, because it's a little less touristy, a little less crowded, unless you're right down on the waterfront where the bridge, the Dom Luís, the first bridge, is. So there's a little bit more space. You can maybe get a little bit more for your money. I stayed in a really cute Airbnb there with 2 friends last year, just about a year ago now, in May. And I think we paid €70 a night for it, something like that, maybe less. And it was great. It was a 2-bedroom loft type place that was right on the main boulevard. We walked a couple minutes across a little park and took the funicular tram down to the riverside where the port wine houses are. And then we just walked across the bridge to go to Porto. It was fabulous. So this is a great region. Porto, of course, with all the warren of medieval streets and alleyways and fabulous architecture, like the San Francisco Church and so on and so forth. Lots of shopping, and along the waterfront, all the little boutiques and stalls. And I took a look again. This is, the average is about $1,800 a month for a place there that I found, but I also found for $1,200. I did find a $2,800, this is absolutely gorgeous, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo apartment for rent with an enormous terrace with actually an ocean view of the Atlantic. So if you can spring for the big bucks up to, if your budget can stretch that far, you can have an unbelievable, spectacular view. But you can also live there for $1,200 a month or less if you only want to, if you don't want to be right in the prime spot, or you only want a 1-bedroom if you're looking for a vacation getaway. You can do it definitely for less money. Of course, now, after those 3 places we've mentioned, we have to get down to the Algarve, because this place has been the southern region all along the coast of the water for decades and decades has been hugely popular with the Europeans, with Dutch and French, of course the British. So, and therefore, of course, lots of English spoken, and even with other ethnicities, the default language always ends up being English. So it's another area just like Lisbon, Cascais, and Estoril, and Porto and Gaia in the north. It's a place where you can feel totally comfortable just speaking English. Again, I always recommend that you learn a little bit just to be in a position where you are culturally respectful of the people. And even if you're just saying bom dia or muito bem, very well, or everything is always very well here, by the way. When somebody greets you and they say, tudo bem, everything okay? The answer is always tudo. So even now, with what's going on with the situation in the world, that's the response, because it is all good. But anyway, Albufeira is the largest. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. We're doing a lot of yard work outside because it's beautiful and sunny, and so we have some people working outside, and they're churning up a lot of green grass and all kinds of things. So, scusi. Albufeira is the largest resort town of the in the southern region of the Algarve. They have a population of about 14,000 in the town proper, but about 41 within the district. But what you should know is that the population swells to about 3 times the normal all throughout the Algarve in the summertime, or in season, I guess I should say. And that basically is mid-June to mid-September. So you've got those months where it's really busy and packed. They're actually even expecting now, I read something from one of the sources here in Portugal, that they're gearing up for, because tourism is big business here, and they're gearing up for a productive season here. So we're all keeping our fingers crossed. Portugal has done very, very well in terms of the situation, the health situation that's gone on in the world, and so we're hoping to keep it that way. But they're looking forward with optimism that everything will be tudo bem in the summertime, and welcoming visitors and tourists once again. What's so great about being in Albufeira is that you're very close to Vila, but again, I've said this before about everything is quite close together. You would drive 15 to 20 to 30 minutes tops from town to town, going from the west to the east across the bottom of the country to hit all the towns that I've always mentioned. So Vila is like, I think, 15 minutes or so away from Albufeira. And Vila is a huge, very touristy, but has a beautiful marina with tons of restaurants and shops and cafes and bars. And it's just beautiful at night, especially. So tons of golfing there. So the Albufeira itself, I've said this as well, they have about 100 bars and shops and restaurants and bars alone in Old Town, just in Old Town. So this is a place if you want to go. It's kind of party central, and to my taste would be a little bit less so. I favor Lagos, looks like Lagos, over Albufeira, but that's only about 20 minutes away. And there's again the little warren of cobblestone streets and shops in Lagos. They also have a lovely little marina there. There's lots of condominium building that's been going on near the marina and in the little hills that rise up from the waterfront in Lagos. And they have the usual, I mean, you're going to find everywhere down in the Algarve. Boating, water parks are nearby, golfing, of course, and big expat enclave. It's just, Lagos is a little bit more low-key. And lower key yet, this is not probably going to be, maybe, I won't include it in the top for everyone for an expat hotspot, but I love Luz and Praia de Luz, Luz. It's really quieter. Obviously, you can see what my tastes are, just to be a little bit quieter. But I would say that those are your top, to recap for you: the capital of Lisbon, and then moving over to the west, Cascais and Estoril, where you also have so much that's offered to you and a little bit lower key. The Porto North area, you do have to think about being more like in Seattle, or just a little bit more a wetter and cooler climate, wetter and windier in the wintertime. But of course, that means beautiful summer breezes in the summer. And the southern region of the Algarve, where you have Albufeira for the biggest, brightest, best, craziest, and Lagos, a little bit lower key, but still offering so much, as all of Portugal does. I hope this has been of use to you and help, and look forward to seeing you. Stay in touch, and all the best.